Thank you all for being here. What an awesome day. My name is Brooke Rollins, and I am the president and CEO of the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and we're so glad to have you here in our fairly new headquarters building at 901 Congress. But more importantly, what a gift and what an honor to host the very first book signing and launch of our great Governor Greg Abbott's new book. How exciting is this? It's awesome. But before I introduce our governor and have a couple words about what I believe to be an extraordinary day for many reasons and what I believe this book signifies, I first want to introduce a very special guest who's here with us today. His name is Dan Walrath, and he is the founder and president of Operation Finally Home. And while you may not know yet, since you just received the copy of your book, but this book's proceeds is dedicated to the charity Operation Finally Home. And if you don't know much about it, I don't want to spoil anything because Dan's here with us. He'll give you a little bit more background. But I want to give you a little background on Dan because he's very special. A custom home builder in Texas for about 30 years, won multiple awards for the excellence in his craftsmanship and in building beautiful homes around Texas. But following a request in 2005 to remodel the home of a wounded Marine, Dan was able to work with his community and provide the home to the family at no cost. Inspired and absolutely. Inspired and moved to do more for our wounded veterans and our wounded soldiers and our wounded warriors, he founded Operation Finally Home, a nonprofit organization providing custom-built, mortgage-free homes to military heroes and the widows of the fallen who have sacrificed everything to defend our country's freedom and our way of life. Currently, over 180 homes in 32 states that have either been completed or are in the planning process. And hopefully now, with a great gift from Governor Abbott and this amazing book, we'll see that even be much, much more. Please help me welcome to the stage a very special guest, the founder and CEO of Operation Finally Home, Dan Walrath.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Brooke. Is this one working? This one's working. Working?
Podium's working.
All right. Thank you so much, Brooke, for having us here today. Thank you, Governor Abbott, for your continuing support of our nation's true heroes. When I received your call last December that you had selected Operation Finally Home to receive the proceeds from your book, Broken but Unbowed, I was so honored. Governor Abbott's story is filled with inspiration, especially for our nation's servicemen and women. A story to never give up and never let life's tragedies and challenges get in the way of God's plan for your life. As Brooke said, since 2005, Operation Finally Home has provided custom-built mortgage-free homes for America's wounded, ill, and injured military heroes and the widows of the fallen. We do this by partnering with corporate sponsors, builders associations, and I'd like to add, today we have two representatives of Texas Association of Builders here in Austin with us today, great group, and individual contributors, people just like you and Governor Abbott who want to honor our heroes with homes. We have constructed over 180 homes in various stages, and we've done this in over 32 states, and we continue to grow. And being based here out of New Braunfels, we have a special connection to Texas. So thank you, Governor Abbott, for this generous gift and commitment to Operation Finally Home and those we serve. God bless you.
Thank you, Dan. What a privilege and a blessing to have you here. And for those of you that may have been following our work and certainly our partnership with Governor Abbott on a little project called the Convention of the States, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a recipient of one of those homes in our office and giving a keynote speech, and it was really incredible to see it all come full circle. So Dan, what an honor to have you. Now it is my sincere privilege to welcome our great Governor Greg Abbott. When the history of the present day is written, it will be a history of crisis, of a country racked by controversy and fundamental disagreement in ways unseen since maybe the years leading up to the Civil War. These days, it seems like Americans may not be able to agree on much. There is, on the one hand, a powerful party that sincerely believes in the power of government and the ability of the big state to do things better than the individual. But on the other hand, there are those of us who still believe that it is the individual man and woman, guided only by their conscience, their intellect, and their heart, who are the best arbiters of their own destiny. The question of who decides best is the most central question facing us today. Whether we think it is a collection of elites in a faraway place, or whether we think it is ourselves, it really is the most defining answer of all. We are so very fortunate here in our state to have a governor who falls firmly in the latter camp. Greg Abbott has spent his career as a champion of individual liberty and dignity and conscience. He inherited a Texas that was prosperous, and in the nearly year and a half he has now been in office, he has vividly illustrated his ability and determination and passion to write successive chapters in the history of our Texas and our prosperity. Greg Abbott understands that he is both a servant of the people and a steward of a unique and extraordinary place that is, in a larger sense, the only true free spot currently today in the world. After all, it is in Texas where the dream of the American founders still flourishes best, a place where, armed only with our God-given rights, a citizen can live and work and prosper by his own hand. It seems such a simple idea, and yet Washington, D.C., and most of the wider world no longer adheres to it. In his new book, Broken but Unbowed, Governor Abbott tells the story of how he came to believe in those principles and what he has done to defend them in the public square. It is a tale of both tragedy and triumph, the chronicle of a man who has faced adversity unlike most of us have ever known, but overcame it with a fashion reminiscent of the best tales of personal endurance and grit and everything that is great about America and everything that is great about our Texas. Please help me welcome the great governor of the state of Texas, Greg Abbott.
Thank y'all so much. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us on a typical Texas way to kick off a book tour, and that is a bigger and bolder way. If you just see the size of the bus alone, you know this is a Texas-sized bus tour that we're taking across the entire state of Texas. You know, as I look out here, I see someone I was not expecting here today. And I regret if I'm missing any other relatives, but I have one of my cousins, Trip Jacks, right here. Trip, why don't you stand up? You know you're going to be here. But the reason why we gather here today at this venue is what TPPF was created for, what this building was created for. I mean, look at this fabulous facility. This is the home of the discussion of ideas. This book is about the advancement of ideas in this nation. There's no doubt that our nation is at a crossroads. There's no doubt that people are hungry for answers to address the challenges we face today. There's no doubt that the answer to the questions we grapple with don't come from Washington, D.C. They don't even come from the capital of the state of Texas. They come from the men and women who are the citizens of the United States of America. People ask, what can I do? How can we respond? How can we return America to its proper course? The answer lies in that book that you have that I look forward to signing. It's an issue where we, the people of the United States of America, can restore our country, not by rewriting the Constitution, not by altering the Constitution, but by returning our Constitution to the genius that was instilled by its original authors, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, Ben Franklin, the whole lot of them. They understood the correct architecture for government. Generations preceding us turned our country away from that architecture. It's up to us to return the United States of America to the design that elevated us to the premier nation in the history of the entire world. Now, I am proud, so very, very proud, Dan, of you and what you've done. You know, Operation Finally Home. The name says it all. I'm proud that the proceeds from this book are going to Operation Finally Home. Think about the men and women who've worn the uniform of the United States military. They signed up, and they did so for one reason: to fight for the freedom that the United States of America stands for, that is generated from our United States Constitution. Think of the men and women who have put their lives on the line, even some who have lost their lives, fighting for that freedom. But some of those men and women who have been overseas sometimes for a decade finally come home, and they need a place to stay. They're wounded physically, mentally, emotionally. And because of Dan, because of Operation Finally Home, they have a place to stay. But we, as a people, have an obligation too. While our warriors have been fighting for our freedom, as they return home, they see that that freedom has frayed because of the lack of defense on the homeland of our United States Constitution. We need to stand shoulder to shoulder with the men and women who fought for our freedom and reinstill the freedom the Constitution stands for, so that when they do return finally home, they will not only have a place to stay, but they will be wrapped in the freedom guaranteed by the United States Constitution itself. So thank you for supporting this book. Thank you for supporting the cause. Thank you for working with TPPF, myself, and others, and the members of the state legislature, some of whom are here today. I've lost you now. Where'd you guys go? They're in the back, various places. And we have a brilliant jurist who worked for me, Don Willett, also with us here today. Thank you, Justice Willett. And lastly, but maybe most importantly, there are members of my staff at the Office of Governor who I want to thank. They're arrayed across the room, and they're already standing, so I can't ask you to stand. But I just want to thank you personally, if you would, for putting up with all of this, but also for working with us. Some of you worked as co-architects of the book, where I detail my 31 lawsuits against the federal government during our time when I served as Attorney General. Others have been working with me as we work on the pathway in the upcoming legislative session to ensure that the state of Texas will be part of the Convention of States movement. Everyone is working together for one single cause, and that is the cause of freedom to keep America the best country in the history of the world, with Texas leading the way. Thank you very much.
All right, so with that, we're going to start the book signing. Governor, thank you. I think Broken but Unbowed is not just the story of a man, it's the story of a nation. And we so look forward to your continued leadership, and what a blessing to have you here. So I think what we're doing, Clint, is we are moving the table, and are we going to move from one side of the room to the other? From right to left, as it should be. We're starting on the right. Just a little political joke. So we'll start over here on the right and slowly move along. And again, we thank you all so very much for coming, and we're so excited about this book, and we're going to do everything we can to get the word out, and would love for you to do as well. Please help me thank again our great Governor Greg Abbott.